love Mike Borgonzi. He's like the second in command to Kansas City. I mean, you see what that organization's doing. Ed Dodds in Indianapolis. You know, everybody's high on Louis Riddick because he sounds great on television. He knows what he's talking about. He does have personnel experience with a few teams, including Philly and I believe Cleveland
and
Washington, yes. So he's highly respected. Rick Smith did a decent job in Houston and had a falling out, and he had to step down. His wife had cancer. Allegedly, Atlanta likes him. You have the two guys in Seattle, Trent Kirshner and the other guys. I can't read my writing. Scott Fisher. They've done a really good job there. The guy in Baltimore, Jay Ortiz. Yeah, he's done a nice job. Here's a guy that I mentioned before they hired Bob Quinn, Will McClay, who's basically the general manager of the Cowboys. They say, well, the Cowboys haven't won it yet, but that's not him. They get a lot of good talent. Will McClay, you might actually play for the Detroit Drive. But other teams have tried to get him, and in fact, Houston wanted him, and the Cowboys wouldn't allow him to talk to him.
Right, because everybody knows that Jerry Jones is the general manager, but Will McClay is basically de facto general manager, they have assembled a lot of really good talent.
Yeah.
And they just haven't won. This year, I never want to put on the injury excuse, but if it fits, especially in this division, because we talked about the Eagles, they've been decimated by injury. And the Dallas Cowboys, obviously Dak Prescott's the headliner. They've lost both their tackles. They lost their best offensive lineman again last week.
I know.
And defensively, say whatever you want about Van Der Esch, but you lose your middle linebacker. You lose kind of the quarterback of your defense.
Sean Lee was out for a while, like he always is.
Right. And so they've just been, at one point I heard this stat, defensively, they have, or just as a team, they had over $80 million of their salary cap on the bench due to injury.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I don't know how
How about San Francisco? They had a lot of injury and COVID.
Right. There's some very interesting COVID discussions going on in the NFL right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of San Francisco, what's his name? Peters. He's a pretty good guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there are tons of people. Yes, they have to get the GM hire right. And here's the other thing. Does the coach have to be attached to the hip of the general manager? It didn't work here. That's for damn sure.
And I think it's important that they're not.
Yeah, I agree with you. It shows that the general manager can go in different directions.
Right. It checks and balances, right? You need to understand what your coach wants.
Yeah.
Right? When you hire a coach and then your coach hires an offensive and defensive coordinator, you have to have a relationship and an understanding of what they need to make their system work. But you also have to have an understanding of what you believe as a GM is the talent that for the system. I mean, it's very difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, but you have to be able to put the talent on the field, and you have to look at your team and say, okay, on this team, all right, we have a few components on offense. Where do we need the most help? Obviously, it's on defense.
Right. Okay, so you get a defensive coach or you get an offensive coach. Make sure you have a good defensive coordinator. And you want to have somebody who can adapt. Brian Billick, I mean, it's ancient history, but he was, the offensive coordinator for the Vikings and all that. He goes to Baltimore, and he realizes what he has is, wait a second, I got to focus. This is a defensive team. And that's what they did. There are other teams around the league that do that now. I mean, you have to be able to adapt to your roster. The problem is the roster's so bad that it's going to take a major rebuild. A major rebuild. And then you have to figure out what you want to do for Stafford. Personally, I don't think it makes a difference as far as who you hire as a general manager. Because you're only going to have Stafford 1 year or not.
Right. Well, 1 year max.
Yes, 1 year max. You would think.
Right.
This is, we'll have to go back to the old bit. This is why they screwed up so much and not taking a quarterback this year.
We'll get into some
and here I'm rant here, but that's why it was so stupid. Because now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gov, in your opinion, it makes getting a great head coach maybe, I don't know, less attractive. Because Anthony Lynn's probably going to get fired with the Chargers, right?
Yes.
You think so? Where would Eric Bieniemy want to go? Houston, Deshaun Watson, okay? Chargers, Justin Herbert, are here with Stafford.
And don't he?
Arthur Smith the same way. If you're a coordinator and you have a chance to go to a gig with a really good young quarterback, where are you going to go? I mean, chances are the Lions will be in a position to draft one of them this year, not one of the top two.
No, but a good quarterback. So that might be something that is enticing to one of those coordinators. And the other thing that you have to worry about with Bieniemy is competing with the college teams. Like he's one of the top candidates. If Tom Herman gets the axe at Texas, that he's been talked about as going to UT because he's got a college background as well.
Why didn't he go to his alma mater in Tucker?
Why would you leave Kansas City? I mean, and again, that becomes part of the conversation right now. Like, would you rather stay in Kansas City as a coordinator and coach Patrick Mahomes and the run that they have starting in Kansas City, or would you want to be a head coach and try and do it yourself?
I'm not trying to take anything away from Eric Bieniemy, okay? But we see this often, and I still believe. Look, he could be a great head coach, okay? I don't know. I just think he's being glorified a little bit too, and it's the hot candidate that we see time and time again, and those guys usually fail most of the time. Andy Reid still has his fingerprints on the period, end of story. And I'm not saying that Bieniemy wouldn't be a good coach. I'm just buyer beware a little bit on that. I'm interested in culture change, and I think one of the things that has not gotten talked about at all here in the last 48 hours, 36 since this happened, whatever it is with Bevel taking over and what Stafford might look like the next 5 weeks. And did Matt Patricia have his hands on the offense a little bit? Because I was always curious to, most of the time, them starting fast and then everything kind of getting pulled back a little bit, it seemed like. And I just kind of want to see to me, the answer to this is Matthew Stafford still part of the future or not? And I think everybody's just kind of like licking the stamp and saying yes. I'm not so sure about that.
Well, it depends.
That changes your hire significantly.
Right, but it depends what you talk about future. For 1 year, yeah, he might be part of it because that's what I would like them to do. Keep up so you don't have that huge cap hit. Draft a young quarterback in the first round and groom him, and then halfway through the season, because the team will probably suck, you bring the guy in, and then Stafford's going after the fun. That's what I want to happen.
Well, me too, Stoney. I mean, I would like actually, because they're not going to get the first or second pick in the draft, barring some sort of miracle.
Your boy Trask.
Yeah, I do.
I know. I don't.
I've been saying it. This kid is filthy accurate, okay? And you don't have to be this gunslinger and have this super strong arm. You got to be accurate to play in the NFL. My thing with him a little bit is that he's not necessarily the most mobile person, and that's where this league is going, although I still wonder if the league is truly going there. You see the Kyler Murray's struggles and things yesterday, and so I don't know, man. I think the very first thing they got to do is they actually need to talk to Stafford and say, do you want to be here? We don't know if we're going to commit to you for a few more years, but do you want to be here? Because if the answer is no, then you got to move.
Right.
And then you start your hiring process, and then you're like, okay, well, we're not committed to Stafford necessarily, but at least the GM knows, okay, well, he does want to be here.
But is it the GM that has the discussion with him, or does ownership have before they even hire the GM?
I think they should actually talk to him before they hire the GM. I think they should just go to him and go, look, we don't know who we're going to hire, and we don't know if they want you here. But we want to know, do you want to be here? Because if he says no, then you got to get rid of him. That's a no-brainer, and the GM knows that coming in.
Right. Our telephone number, 248-539-9797. The odds are out for the next Lions head coach. We'll give you those coming up next. Hey, you want to get away, relax, have a great time. The D Las Vegas, everything you need. The D taking all the precautions. Make sure social distancing, people wearing masks, you're safe. You can have all the fun, but still be safe at the D in Las Vegas. And they've got great food there. The best steak in downtown Vegas is at Joe Vaccaro's Andiamo Italian Steakhouse. Or you got the American Coney Island right there for something a bit more casual. D Las Vegas sets you up with around the golf if you play golf, because there's great golf courses in Vegas. Party all night at the Long Bar. It's a great place. Lots of fun. Derek Stevens hanging out there. you see him, of course, he's the owner. Tell me, sent you. He just might get you a cocktail. The D Las Vegas is your home for Detroit sports in Las Vegas.
97.1 The Ticket. Traffic.
From the WWJ AMI 50 Traffic Center, this report brought to you by Comcast Business. 94 East 1 after Ecorse Road, there's an accident blocking the right shoulder. Also a crash reported in Ann Arbor, US 23 southbound the ramp to M14 eastbound in the West Triple Decker. When the unexpected comes calling, bounce forward with Comcast Business. Bounce forward fast